Modern professionals spend a great deal of their time reading and writing emails. That could be at the office, and most likely it's also when they're at home or whenever they've got an active internet connection. Not only are emails very often the main source of internal and external business communication for professionals, they can also be a great source of stress. Now, when writing emails, it is important to consider our recipient. We have to try to save their time and make their life easier and less stressful. In an earlier session, we covered email structure. We're going to revisit that as part of email etiquette. Now, as you know, the first part of the email structure is the greeting. In modern email writing, this is generally hi or hello plus the first name. These days, there really is no need to be excessively formal by using a greeting such as dear. This is better reserved for formal letters. If you're writing an email exchange over several emails, one greeting is enough. It would be quite unnatural to keep on saying hi with every new message. If a thread of emails continues over an extended period of time, and it takes more than a day to respond, another greeting could be used. The only situations you may wish to use a formal greeting would be if you receive an important formal email written by your boss or by a client. If they write in a very formal style, you should also keep the tone fairly formal. So a greeting like dear would be appropriate if you receive an email that begins with dear. Now, the next part in the email structure, as we know, is the pleasantry or greeting to. If you've not had contact with the recipient for some time, it's quite normal to ask how they are or to write something like, I hope you're well. If you're writing to a co-worker who sat just a few meters away from you, that could seem quite unnatural if you've already greeted them earlier that day. In an email exchange that spans several messages, there's also no need to keep on asking about how the recipient's health is. Now, we're going to look at the main body of the email. Now, that includes the reason for writing and the call for action or conclusion. As far as etiquette is concerned, the main things you need to consider remain the same. Are you making your recipient's life easier and less stressful? In our writing, we need to be as polite and courteous as possible as we look to create good impressions with our reader. However, we must also get to the point so we don't give the reader an excessively long email to have to read through. We're going to look at two emails, see if you can make them more concise and to the point.
Let's check the answers and see how you did.
So, after deleting 20 words from the first email, we get a much shorter version, which now reads, "Thanks for your email. Friday at 2:30 is fine. Send me the sales figures before the meeting. I look forward to seeing you." The shorter version removes a lot of unnecessary words and gets to the point in much less time. And after deleting 20 words from the second email, we get the more direct and to the point version, which now reads, "I will be away from my office from 16 to 21 September. Please direct all questions to Martina." Now, the shortened version of this email only gives the most important information. The writer only needs to give relevant details to communicate their message. In the case of both of these new versions, they are written in a very direct style. The purpose of this activity is simply to get practice at shortening wordy emails and making them more direct. In reality, rather than simply deleting words to make our emails more direct and to the point, we could replace some of the words. We would also rewrite long, wordy sentences to make them easier for our readers to follow. As a rule, if your sentence has over 24 words in it, it's too long. Being direct is not the same as being rude. Direct writing saves your readers time, and busy professionals don't want to read long, wordy emails. Emails can, however, be too concise and can be interpreted as being rude or disrespectful. For example, if you receive an email that's very brief and direct and just says, "Okay," "Noted," or "FYI," if the communication is too short, not only can this be considered rude, it leaves the reader unsure whether they should respond or take action. Remember that before you hit that send button, it's really vital that you ask yourself if the action required is made clear in the body of the message. So reread your email and make sure that the recipient will know exactly what they have to do after they receive it. You also need to remember that it's difficult to show feelings in an email. As with any form of digital communication, email lacks gestures, tone, and any emotion can be left unclear. The sign-off should be consistent with the tone of the email and the greeting. For example, if you've written "Hi William" as your greeting, it would be quite strange and unnatural to sign off with "Yours sincerely." In a professional email, it's quite acceptable to sign off with "Regards," or if you have a good working relationship with the recipient, "Best wishes." Before you click send, remember to reread your email and make sure that it's clear and cannot be misinterpreted. Now that we've covered the 5 parts of the email structure in relation to good etiquette, we're going to look at some other things you need to consider before clicking the send button. One of the first things we need to think of is the use of to, CC, and BCC functions. We need to ask ourselves, who needs to be included in the email? Is it relevant to the reader? And what is their role in all of this? Anyone receiving the email and included in the to field should be expected to either reply or take some kind of action. If not, they should not be included in the field to. Other recipients who are not expected to respond go into the CC field. These recipients are included for their information, only if it's considered important for them to receive the email. This will help your reader understand the action they need to take. So if they're in the to field, they respond. If they're in the CC field, do not respond. So ask yourself again, if the recipient is in the CC field, do they really need to be? The other field that's available to us in most email clients is BCC. Now BCC has 2 main functions. The first one is to protect the identity of the recipient if there are multiple recipients receiving the email. The second one is to prevent the overuse of the reply all in a thread, as this can be quite annoying for recipients to be included again and again. If you are using BCC for any other reason, ask yourself, how would the primary recipient feel if they found out that someone else was being included in the message? One of the other considerations for email etiquette is whether email is actually the best method of communication at all. For example, could your message be better delivered in person or by a phone call? It's not unusual to send an email to a coworker who's sitting just a few meters away from you. So before you spend your time writing a time-consuming email, ask yourself if the message could be better delivered via a face-to-face conversation or even a phone call.